Hey, Maria, back with another video. It's Sunday morning, and it's like, oh, it's early. Very early. It's like 7:43, and I'm stirring about my home, just kind of hanging out in my pajamas. It's a gorgeous morning, and I just kind of wanted to make a quick video. It's a lazy weekend. Boring, boring, boring. But it's going by fast, which it always does, you know, time flies when you're not having fun. But anyway, so today I'm just kind of hanging around the house. My son's going to come over later, and just trying to keep myself together, I did go out yesterday for a brief moment and then came back home. I thought I was going to go out and pick up a couple items, and I was like, I don't even want to. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to come home. Whether I go out, go home. It's like the same ritualistic. What do you call it? Um, it's the same thing. And what I needed to go pick up wasn't that exciting. I mean, it's like toiletries, you know, um, household items that a house can't go without, even though I don't need them right away, but I knew I needed to get them. I just didn't feel like dealing with it. It's fun to go home. Either way, I'm going to be bored, right? But anyway, so I was thinking, I'm not trying to be a person who stirs up controversy or anything like that, because I'm not one of those kind of people. I really don't. I mean, if people try to provoke me, then I have a mouthful to say, and I will defend myself. I have to. I'm all I have. I have to protect myself. But when something like this has gone on for this long of a time, and you feel as though you've been, I mean, it's not like I feel, I have been dealt a serious injustice, and it affects your life. And I try to keep everything, actually I don't try, I do, I keep everything on the up and up. Meaning, when I leave a place of employment, I don't trash the other employer. But when a situation like this occurs, you have no choice but to speak up for yourself. So I'm not an agitator. I'm not somebody who likes to stir the pot. Believe me, I don't. I'm just somebody who wants to get along and be a very peaceful person. I'm very peaceful. I mean, I don't create conflict where there shouldn't be any. But you have to stand up for yourself sometimes, especially in situations like this. And, I don't encourage people to be, what do you call it? Like, somebody who just likes to raise hell. I don't encourage that. I don't think it's a good idea. But in a situation where you're backed into a corner, in a situation that doesn't make sense, and you're being a victim, you're being victimized, okay? And you are the only person who can stand up for yourself, then you have to. So, I know a lot of people would love to believe that, I'm some sort of, what do you call it? Um, Troublemaker. No, I'm not. Believe me, I'm not. I'm the last person who would ever want to cause anything like that. And I said a lot of harsh things, and, I will not take those back, because when you consider the duration of the time that this has been going on, I would be wrong. It would be wrong for me to turn a blind eye to this injustice. So you have to do what you have to do. And I'm a very strong person, very strong. And, I think a lot of people think, well, she's, really girly and she's whatever and she's meek. Well, I would say I prefer being the little girly girl. I mean, what I mean by that is, I'm a very polite person. I'm a very bubbly person who loves to laugh and enjoy conversation, and I'm a very pleasant person. I'm pleasant, okay, meaning as far as interacting with me, I'm, somebody who's a very kind person, but, I will show another side of myself when I have to. And I really don't like being this hard. Okay, I don't. It's draining on me because, but when you are faced in a situation like this, when you have you're dealing with an irrational group of people who are basically terrorizing you, then you have to do something. So, you know, I haven't changed my personality in any way. I've always been this person. Okay. I remember when I was interacting with my former boss in Chatsworth, when I got to the point where I couldn't stand her anymore, I would just walk by her in the morning, and I think it really bothered her that I wasn't playing into her game. Obviously, it did, because when you deal with somebody who's coming after you in this sort of manner, which I know I've heard other people talking about stuff like this. I've worked for companies, there was a time I worked for a company where a particular boss didn't like this particular other girl. And I could tell that, she wanted to sabotage her for whatever reason, okay? And she would say, well, I'm going to go ahead and talk to her because this girl got another job. And she was saying, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to call this other person and blah, 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 blah. And I just kind of rolled my eyes like, doesn't she know that that's illegal? And there's so many people who are working for companies that are basically putting people in these sort of situations. And no matter what a person does, okay, um, people have the right to move on, okay? Sometimes people have personality conflicts. And, it should have never escalated to that point. But do realize just because the chemistry wasn't right with this particular person doesn't mean it's not right with another person. So they have a responsibility to the company that they work for, as well as the person that they actually employ, that they just don't particularly care for whatever reason, which is usually frivolous. So, it's one thing if a person just doesn't do a good job. It's one thing if a person is just somebody who is what do you call it, a rebel, constantly stirring up trouble at the place of employment, and they're doing things on a deliberate basis. Then you don't have to sit here and give them a good reference. You can just say, well, we wouldn't rehire this person, and that's all you have to say. You know, but in my case, there was no reason for what happened to me because I played by the rules. I did everything I was supposed to do at her place of employment as well as the farmer's place. So in situations like this, you can't help but be irritated, and have to and be provoked to say something and stand up for yourself. So, but this is a very common attitude, and a lot of times when people get in positions of power, um, and power does a lot to people. It does. I mean, you see people who get a certain privilege. And I use this example a lot. Like for example, when Bobby Brady got to become the school hall monitor. Okay, that is occur. It's obviously a fictional story, but you can see how it changes a person. There's so many examples of it, where somebody gets elected into a certain position or an office, or whether they be a manager or they are a team leader or in a school operation or anything. People can become corrupt. This also includes religious leaders. Like I've mentioned Jim Jones many times before. I personally think Jim Jones in the beginning had good intentions, but he got a lot of power. He got a lot of, followers, and the next thing you know, his head got really big and it got out of control. And it developed into all kinds of bizarre perversions and whatnot. So not everybody should be in positions of power because people can abuse that power. And, it brings, what do you call it, a negative view on it should be looked upon as a negative view on an employer who does these sort of things. Because if they are the kind of people who are gossiping about, employees or previous employees, do you honestly think that a customer can feel secure that their information isn't being leaked? Like for example, if you go into a company that's supposed to be, like for example, I don't know, let's just say for example, you have a health issue that is important that you keep it confidential because it's not something very well understood, okay? Like, for example, you have a disease, okay? It's not, what do you call it? It's not contagious, but it's not something that's understood. For example, like AIDS. Like, some people had AIDS back in the 80s. I know some people who had, I didn't know them personally. I didn't know one person personally who had AIDS. But still, let's just say, for example, somebody had a disease that people didn't fully understand it, so they need it confidential. So this is something between their medical provider and them. And then you go to this particular medical provider, and you're hoping that everything's on the up and up. But this particular group of people, certain people in that facility, are talking, sharing information online to their friends or whatever. So not everybody is able to uphold confidentiality. They're just not, okay? And for those people, they don't need to be in those positions. They don't need to be in those positions. They shouldn't be, because they are compromising the company and they're jeopardizing the reputation of that company. Okay, and not only that, it's like, you're putting that particular patient, in jeopardy, because some people don't understand things, and this could be a very difficult way for making a person live under a certain situation where it's unbearable. So, yeah, I mean, there's certain business ethics that everybody should adhere to, okay? And when you start to see that you're the only one, and I'm sure maybe there's other ethical companies, but if there were other ethical companies, I would be hired by now, right? There's ethical companies. These kind of ethics are imperative for a company, okay? They are. I know corruption gets in. I know it does, but I mean, especially now in this time where, most people have lost faith in humanity in general, okay? It's really important, that people develop, an honest um, business ethic. And so when you find that you're the kind of person, you see that you're the kind of person that respects, and understands these things, and you're looking around and other people aren't, and then if it comes as a surprise to them that this whole operation or this sort of thing is illegal, then you obviously can see that there's people who aren't qualified to be in these positions, and you can't help but wonder, why are you suffering like this? Why? Because you can see that this is a serious injustice, and it's painful to know that, It's like my mom has always believed that, you work hard and you're going to get. So my mother is a housewife, okay? She was a housewife. She doesn't know what the real world is like. She has no idea what the real world is really like, okay? None whatsoever, and good for her, because some people can be spared, the pain of knowing that this sort of stuff, it goes on in the world, but I'm the kind of person, I have to be aware of it. And when you are aware of it, it is very discouraging. So I look at all these kids, they think, oh, I'm going to grow up and be this, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this. It's like, you have no idea how this system really works, and how corrupt it really is. And it's corrupt. It is corrupt, and it's wrong. Because I see people in these positions who want to retaliate against people who want to invoke their power, that want to control, manipulate, and destroy the lives of other people. And they're sitting back thinking that it's okay. It's not okay. I remember when I was working over on Edwards Air Force Base many, many years ago, I would stop off at this little restaurant every once in a while. I think it was Burger King. Was it Burger King? Yeah, probably was, because they didn't have very much at the base, right? I would kick back and have, like a sandwich or whatever. Then the girl would come out, this nice girl, she was Filipino, and she would come out and talk to me, and we would talk every once in a while. And she would take her time. She really would make an effort to talk to me. And we would talk, and she was telling me that she was sad all the time because her boss was making her life misery. And I could tell that her boss felt like, because you could see just the way she would walk, the way she would look forward to instructing people. She would try to humiliate her employees in front of the customers, because she was just like, I am the boss, and it was irritating. Well, the girl finally took the necessary steps to get her the upper management to pay attention to what this woman was doing. And this woman, I mean, everybody knew. I mean, people, you could tell people were uncomfortable when this woman would come in. It was like, because they knew she was a tyrant, right? Well, and they finally fired the woman. But before firing her, they made her clean the toilets. They made her do all kinds of horrible things, right? And then they fired her. And I'm not sure if I agree with the way they fired her. They should have just fired her, right? But still, people like that need to be put in their place. They do, okay? I mean, not everybody is able to handle power. They're not, you know? They can become very autocratic. They can become terrorist, you know? And maybe they don't even realize they're doing it, you know? Because some people think that this is how you manage people. This is how you get the job done. But management or managing people should be done in a way where you are getting their respect because they can appreciate your ability to lead, guide, and direct. And your inner strength should demonstrate that. It's not humiliating people. It's not mistreating people. It's not forcing people. It's about leading and guiding and directing in the proper manner. And there is a difference, okay? So you get a lot of people in these jobs where they are literally constantly creating problems. And one of the signs is like a large turnover where people are leaving the company. And people need to pay attention to that. They need to be able to say, I don't know, is this manager doing something wrong? How are they getting along with their employees? Are their employees doing things because they have respect for this person, or is this person using bullying tactics? And a lot of times people use bullying tactics. They do, okay? And people just need to wake up to that, And anyway, so I think I've said enough on this, and I've been talking about this for a long time, but it's always on my mind because every day I'm living this situation, and I come home and I'm like, and then my routine, the way that it's set up, and just feeling so down all the time. What else do I have to think about? I don't have anything to think about. That's the only thing that can roll around my head. I don't have a distraction. I'm not out doing anything other than what I have to do, which is work and then come home. And, I know that I deserve a better life. I shouldn't be sitting around twiddling my thumbs all the time. And I know that I have what it takes to do a great job and do something different and feel happier, But what I'm dealing with is corruption, and it's a very painful way to live. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday. I know that there's a new swap meet that just opened on Brundage Lane. I think they opened because I saw these flags and stuff on my way home. I think it was it Friday? I think it was. I kept thinking, well, maybe I'll stop by, or maybe I'll walk up to the swap meet. I think they close at 6 o'clock. I would love to check it out. I'm not in the market to buy anything really. But if I do, I'll probably pick up a pair of earrings if I do go over there. Because that's usually the kind of stuff I look for at swap meets. I like a lot of the art that people make and sell at those places. Unique type items. But most of the time I could only really afford like earrings. That's something that you could easily get, So maybe I'll check that out. And if you do live in Bakersfield and you have checked it out, I would love to hear what it's like if you can put in a review of it because it would be awesome. Anyway, wrapping up this video. Have a wonderful day.